Hi there, my name is Paulina and I'll try to guide you through this retrospective template. So before we start, when retrospective template is handy if you're using sprints in software development. Because retrospective, this is something that you're running after the sprint or maybe when the project is delivered to reflect a little bit on all of that, find what had gone well, what had gone bad, and how can we improve that. So let's start from the data structure. So I navigate here and I click on the configure space button. Here I see that we have two databases which are called retrospective and action item. So retrospective is a meeting itself in the end of the sprint or project, and action item is a specific task or decision which we decided to focus on during retrospective that will help us to improve everything. So let's go back and see which kind of fields do we have here. So first of all, we have a document README. I definitely recommend you checking it out just because it gives you like an overview, both how to handle the process and how to use the Fibre template for that. So we have a table where we have all retrospectives. There is more fun, more serious one. How are they different? In fact, it's just the content inside. So when I open any retrospective, inside there are three rich text fields, which are called what went right, what went wrong, and what we learned. So here inside, you're able to add this description. You can also collect participants here, so who participated in this retrospective. And also, if you already have Sprint template installed, I recommend you add in a new field relation and connect retrospective to Sprint. So you could open a sprint, you could see the retrospective and see what were the action items and what have you learned from that particular sprint. What else do we have inside? We also have kind of this of the plan. And a more serious one, there is an example of having the same action item inside the text as at the part of the relation. So this is a quick trick that you may learn. What you can do, so you can highlight a piece of text. There I go. So like this, and there appears the context menu. So here if I have a button which is called create entity, I click on it and I decide what am I going to create. I want to create an action item. I click the button create. What happens? The piece of the text becomes indeed the action item, and also it appears here as a separate card. What else you can do? You can also switch between different kind of views. For example, you can have it not only as a list, but also as a board, and then see what's the progress of those particular action items. You can also comment, and you can even use the AI, which will be, for example, able to generate action items based on what we learned, what went wrong, and what went right. So you will fill this part manually, and action items list will be generated automatically. You can learn how to use our AI in the guide and define the prompt on your own. Okay, so this is how everything looks like from retrospective perspective. And here also you see the triangle. So I can click on the triangle and I can see all the action items which are planned directly under the retrospective that was held. So for example, here you can apply the sorting. So the most recent retrospectives were on the top. And then you can quickly have an overview which action items are planned. So we also have this board with action items. So here you can see all the action items and you can see the retrospective that we are born from. And if you want, you can also group them by the retrospective. This is up to you. How do you like it more? Do you want to see this kind of grouping, or do you want to see them as a fields? So we go here to action item, and this is just up to you. How do you want it to look like? And last but not least, here we have also a brainstorming board. So sometimes it's easier to plan something on the mind map, on a whiteboard. Thus, let's say we're having retrospective number 2, which is more serious one, and we have this kind of action item. And we also thought that one more action item will be very nice to have. So we drew a box, we draw the line. And what we can do next, now it is just a static image, correct? But there is a button which is called convert to entity. And again, we choose what does it have to be. Okay, there we are. Now it's a real card. And if I open it, I see that it is called, that it belongs to the retrospective number 2 more serious. And if I open it, I also see that if I scroll down, that this one more action item convert me is here in the board and is here in the list. So it doesn't matter where you add the action item, do you add it directly here, or do you create it from text, or do you add it maybe on this board, or maybe you create it on the whiteboard, everything works fine. So it's up to you to choose the best view, to choose the best option, and feel free to delete the ones which you do not like. So if you delete the board, nothing happens to our brainstorming, nothing happens like to our table and to data inside. We just like deleted the board because we don't need the board. Nothing happens to the data. And there is also an archive, so when the date is after today, we have the filter. So when the retrospective becomes outdated, it appears here. So here you can find all the old ones. If you have any questions, feel free to ping us here with the human support, or more technical questions can go to the AI support. What else do we have in here? So let's go back to the configure space button. And here we have an overview of what is configured here. Let's see which rule do we have. So first of all, you can automate retrospective creation process. So for now, we expect that you may want to create them manually, but if you want to make this process repetitive, then you can just enable this rule. So every 2 weeks on Sunday at 9 a.m. will be created a new retrospective. Its date will be Sunday plus 1 day, so it means it will be Monday. And if you want, you can also like define participants somehow automatically. You can also add some markdown to the what we learned, something like this. If you want a description be pre-generated, that's up to you. We also have a button which is called Generate AI Summary. So it is disabled for now, but you're welcome to enable it. So there is a field which is called AI Summary. I will show you how to unhide it. And when you click the button, it will summarize the retrospective based on what went right, what went wrong, and what we learned fields. So let's enable this button and see how it works. So I want to be here. So here you can see which fields are visible, which fields are not. So AI Summary is just hidden one. So I unhided it, I enabled the button, I click on it, and there we are. So in a few minutes, we see that this is like 3 paragraphs overview of those, in fact, like 6 sentences. So the more detailed data you add to those 3 fields, the better AI Summary will be. And what do we have in action items? We also have one more rule on the action item level, which is a reminder. It's also disabled by default. You can enable it. So when the deadline is today and action item is still not done, then assignees will receive notification. So every day at 9 a.m., the automation checks all the action items which are not done yet and where the due date is today. If it finds such an action item, it will notify the assignees and such a subject will appear. So this is probably it. Thank you so much for the watching, and I hope it will be helpful for you.